one. Welcome to Around the Ozarks Spotlight. Each week, we uncover the stories behind the people here in Southwest Missouri who have entrepreneurial spirit, who work to better the lives of others, or put pen to paper to write books about the stories and history of the Ozarks and its people. I'm your host, Scott Meier, and today we are exploring and re-exploring the world of Ronald McDonald House Charities here in the Ozarks with the president and CEO, Bonnie Keller, and also the brand new, he doesn't look too new, but he is the brand new development manager, Ezra Wood. And Ezra, before we get into the nitty gritty of what everybody does, I do want to let the folks know development manager is a really great title of somebody who has to find all the money. So that's a big job. And I'm sure Bonnie looked long and hard before she found somebody with your skill set to be able to help Ronald McDonald House Charities with that. Fair, Bonnie?
Fair, yes.
Okay. So it's a busy time of the year for Ronald McDonald Houses, and certainly no different here in Springfield. Bonnie, let's bring people up to speed if we can a little bit. It's been about 2 years since you were on the show, so I want to let people know again the backstory before we get into the needs of Ronald McDonald House. What are they? People have heard about them, but they don't necessarily know how they're funded, what they actually do, and the role they play here in Springfield.
We feel such an important need to families of seriously ill and injured children who travel to Springfield for medical treatment. And so this is a moment in life that most people can't even think about. And so imagine yourself finding out that you're going to have a premature baby, or you were in a car accident, you're in a strange town, and your immediate thought is you just want to be with your child. Mm-hmm. But then all the realities start coming through on where are we going to stay? How can we keep our family together? How can we afford this? Not staying at home every night. And so that's where the Ronald McDonald House steps in. Our goal is to provide a home away from home for these families and take away as many of those daily worries as we possibly can, from providing meals and food all day long, to have a place where you can think and sleep and try to live your life as normal as possible, with the reassurance to know that you're right near your family. And then you also have a place where you can keep that family together and be very close to your ill child. It's a journey that I don't think anyone can really imagine until they're in the middle of it. And like you say, you know, people know the Ronald McDonald House benefits children and they know it's something good, but it's really hard to even let yourself imagine what it would be like.
That's so true. And Bonnie, you have been part of Ronald McDonald House Charity here in the Ozarks for how long?
For over 30 years. I've had the privilege of working both as a volunteer and a staff member, and really working closely with the people who started our organization. And many of those people had the experience of having an ill child and really put a lot of thought and consideration into our 2 houses here that can help up to 24 families on any given night, and how they operate, and really helping us understand what we can really do day to day, from the smallest thing to the largest thing, to make lives easier for our families.
Now, it's part of McDonald's Corporation, so you have all the money you need, correct?
Oh, wouldn't that be great? You know, McDonald's is our founding mission partner. We are so fortunate to not only benefit from the owner-operators' efforts, but people every day who drive through McDonald's and adopt a heart for our Share a Heart campaign, or round up to benefit RMHC. The vast majority of our funding comes from people in the community. So 100% of our funding is raised locally and helps local families. And we're so fortunate to have that foundation that McDonald's and the customers continue to provide every year.
Now, Ezra Wood, that was what we would call a softball, because I used to coach t-ball with my children when they were young, and you wanted to put the ball on the pedestal so it was easy to hit. I think, and I'm sure you're finding this out in this position, that there is a misconception that McDonald House Charities receive all this money from the parent company, when in fact, it's really about the community.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it takes just over $900,000 a year for us to maintain the operation here and continue doing what we do. And so that comes from an enormous community of support that we have here in the Ozarks. And it's really interesting. A lot of people don't necessarily know what Ronald McDonald House is. They may have seen it before going through McDonald's or something like that. But talking about me moving into this position, when I a little over a year ago had been offered this role, it was a different role that I've now transitioned into development. But when I was offered a role here at Ronald McDonald House, every single person that I shared that news with had a connection. They had a relative that used the house. They used the house themselves. They had a friend at church that was at the house for quite some time. And so it's really kind of an amazing thing to see just how far of a reach that what we do has. You don't think about it whenever you're impacting the life of a family here, just how far that's going to reach, and what a difference that's going to make when they go out and they share everything that happened. And it all is a huge part of just the overall support that we need to be able to continue what we're doing every day. And like Bonnie said, we're very fortunate to have McDonald's and to have the owner operator relationship that we have and everything we receive through that. But it certainly takes so much more for us to do what we do, and to do it at the level that we do it. I believe we do what we do here with excellence, and we couldn't do that without the support that we have.
Tell the folks that like hearing the stories with us here on Around the Ozarks Spotlight. We're in the middle of a fundraising campaign now, are we not?
We are.
And what's it called?
So we are in the middle of our 30th annual Share a Heart campaign, which is where you are able to go through. We have 69 McDonald's restaurants here in the Ozarks where you can go through the drive-through or go into the restaurant itself, and they'll ask you if you'd like to share a heart for RMHC. And for $1, $5, or $20, you can have either a red, pink, or a gold heart to show your support of Ronald McDonald House. They take that with them, and there is a bit of an incentive where they can post a photo of themselves showing their support with that heart and with a hashtag, and enter for a chance to win a $250 gift card courtesy of Great Southern Bank. And so just something that has continued to be one of our largest fundraising and awareness campaigns that we do every single year.
Bonnie is the CEO of the Ronald McDonald House here in Springfield. What does Save a Heart mean in terms of percentages, if you will, in terms of money raised? How important is it? And let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that are coming up later this year.
Sure. With Share a Heart, it has grown and grown. Oh, that's okay. It has grown and grown. And as Ezra said, our two houses, we need to raise about $900,000 a year. Last year, we netted $121,000 through the Share a Heart campaign. So it is significant. And if anyone ever thought that their dollar heart didn't make a difference, this tells you it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. So it's been a very important part of our funding for 30 years. It's made a huge difference.
It's also a great opportunity, I think, to allow families to get involved as a family. Families hang out at McDonald's stores, obviously, and not all families sometimes feel like they're part of fundraising or giving. Maybe they tithe or something like that at church, or they write an occasional check for something. But this way, you can really get the whole family involved.
That is true, and I do love the way that there can be an opportunity for kids. I know Ezra attended an assembly at an elementary school in Republic last week, and the school's having a contest selling hearts this year. And
really,
it's such a great way for kids to understand that they can have fun with fundraising, but they can also really make a difference for families. And again, you reach that you can't really think of your family having to go through that, but you certainly know that it's got to be a very difficult time. So it's quite a teachable moment for kids.
Ezra, how'd you pull that off? Who called who, and
You
and how did
know,
it come together?
I'd love to take credit for it, but we have an incredible owner operator, the Blumenstock organization in Republic, who
Mhm.
reached out to the schools there, and they said, "Hey, we'd love to do this competition to see which class can sell the most hearts." And we, to the class that wins, we would like to offer a Happy Meal party for the entire classroom. And so the school got behind it, and I had the opportunity to go out and talk with about 500 students at an elementary
Really?
school there in Republic. And when we said Happy Meal party, it was a roar. I mean, it was exciting. And I just couldn't help but think, man, think about the community that we are building in these kids at this age, teaching them that they can make a difference, they can give back and help others that need it. Think about what they're going to look like 20 years from now, whenever they're older and are making their own money and choosing what to do with it, and what a difference that can really make.
Well, that's a great backstory about what the owner operators mean in an area like this in terms of what they do in helping the charities. Right, Bonnie?
It is so true. And I don't know that many people realize that our relationship with McDonald's is a relationship. We are a separate 501c3 organization.
Mhm.
And just like any other donor to our organization, we have to have a relationship, and we have to really help the owner operators understand how the house impacts their community. And they all come in with vast knowledge when they buy their stores, but then really seeing how it impacts their local community makes all the difference in the world. And this particular group of owner operators are known for their tremendous support
Mhm.
of Ronald McDonald House Charities. We are contacted by other RMHCs in the country asking, how in the world do you have such amazing support by your McDonald's owners? And, a lot of it is a win-win relationship and just having a sincere love for this organization and the people we serve. And they definitely have that.
My guests that you're hearing and seeing now on the on the podcast are President and CEO Bonnie Keller, and also the brand new development manager Ezra Wood, representing the Ronald McDonald Houses here in Springfield. We have two of them. And Bonnie, you threw out a number in terms of the families that they can house at any one time, which I think was 24.
Mhm.
How often are they full?
I would say, since we came out of COVID, we have been slowly increasing the occupancy in the houses. Right now, it's maybe every couple of months we would be full.
Mhm.
It's always kind of amazing how when we do get full, there seems to be enough transition where we can take care of families. If we can't, we do have relationships with local hotels
Mhm.
where we will take care of a family staying overnight and try to make sure that their food needs are met until a room opens up for them. And we got quite a bit of experience with that during COVID because we
Sure.
had just certain percentages that we could only have full in the house. So we used hotels quite a bit just to make sure we were touching every family that we could. So we feel like our number of rooms right now is definitely satisfying the need in the community. So we're happy that most of the time we have rooms available.
We'll be back in a. Ezra, hang on to that because I'm gonna hold you to that when we come
Sounds
back
good.
from our break. We'll be back in a moment with more on Around the Ozarks Spotlight. I'm your host, Scott Meier. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back to the second half of today's Around the Ozarks Spotlight. I'm your host, Scott Meier. With me, we've got the development manager, new development manager, Ezra Wood, and also the longtime, and I mean that in a good way, President and CEO, Bonnie Keller, of the Ronald McDonald House Charities here in Southwest Missouri in the Ozarks. Bonnie, what a great run, 30 years. I mean, that's amazing. Ezra, the expectation here, I guess, is that you're going to have to put in 30 as well.
I think so. Yeah, I think I have to.
At some point, Bonnie, I'm sure you're going to want to be able to spend more time with your daughters. I think they're out of school now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and I have a grandson now,
See,
so
so there's a lot
everything's
going on.
changed.
You know,
Yeah.
one of the reasons that I've had the privilege of working with not only the Ronald McDonald houses here in the Ozarks, but also up in Michigan for a number of years, and even in Ohio, is you can't help but want to help when you've been a parent. And when you're a parent and you are around other parents who have children, maybe your children, and we were blessed, all four of our children were very healthy through their younger years. But gosh, the stories that we hear from other parents that aren't so fortunate, and to have something like Ronald McDonald houses available around the country is amazing. But what we have here in the Ozarks is really amazing. Bonnie, before we get into some more of the fundraising with Ezra, let's talk for a minute about a story or two about some of those families. When a family calls and they're a distant family, what does that distance look like, and how long sometimes are they at the house keeping an eye on that young son or daughter that's in the hospital?
Our average length of stay is 11 days, but that's a little bit deceiving because our NICU families can be with us weeks or months. And so
Months.
months, I
Wow.
mean, we have families that are with us over 100 days. And so it definitely becomes a home and a family. And they become our family, which is just it's just amazing, the
Mhm.
relationships that are formed. As far as how far our families travel, it can be states away or hours away, and it becomes so much larger when you think about, and I would love for Ezra to share his story because he's one of our alumni families before he started working with us.
Well, he'll get a chance. I
But
did not know that.
yes, he lived in Branson when they stayed, and you think about just leaving the hospital, going to the parking lot, getting in your car, driving
Mhm.
all the way home, and you're exhausted. And it's so hard to deal with that when you want to be near your child. What if
Mhm.
something happens? And so that stress alone is huge. So it can feel like a million miles away.
Ezra, do you mind sharing that story with us?
Yeah, I would love to. So my connection, it's funny when you say I'm new and new into the role and everything. I definitely feel like I have. Well, I should say Ronald McDonald House has been a part of me for quite some time.
Mhm.
Um, in early 2020, my son David was 4 at the time. He kind of developed a low grade fever one day and pretty normal stuff. But over the course of about 24 hours, he just really went downhill quickly, and something
Mhm.
it became evident that something very serious was wrong. And so we rushed him from Branson up to Mercy Hospital here in Springfield. And we went into the emergency room. And I think within about 2 minutes, we were being taken back to be seen. I mean, it was that clear that there was something wrong.
Sure.
He had lost his ability to speak. He was hallucinating. He was looking at my wife and I, and just you could just tell by the way that he looked at us that it's like he didn't recognize us. He didn't know who we were, and so we did several tests over the course of a few hours, eventually pulling some spinal fluid, which they tested, and it came back that he had meningitis.
Oh,
And
God.
so we first time parents with our 4-year-old, living 45 minutes away, and
Mhm.
just our whole world, it was just caving in around us. I mean, it was and I think will always be the worst day of my life, and the scariest day of my life. And
Mhm.
there soon after, we were referred to Ronald McDonald House, which I grew up in Springfield. I had seen Ronald McDonald House before.
Mhm.
Honestly, I didn't really know what they did. I knew that it was important and that they were a good, I knew it was a good thing, but I didn't know what exactly that it was. And so when they referred us, I mean, from the second that we walked into the house at Mercy to check in, it was like it was like receiving a huge hug, and just every step of the way, feeling
Mhm.
like our family was heard, our family was valued, loved, cared for. And initially we were told we were going to be in the hospital for quite some time. Thankfully, we went home after only 11 days. And my son just actually on February 7th, my son turned 8 years old, and we celebrated and took him to go and see Monday Night Raw in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because he's a huge WWE wrestling fan. Here's the sad thing. Okay. We went, took him to wrestling. We did all this stuff. His favorite birthday is always going to be when he turned 5 at Mercy Hospital.
Sure.
We were in the hospital. It just happened to be right about a week before his birthday. So he turned 5 there in the pediatric unit at Mercy. And between the Mercy staff, the nurses, and the Ronald McDonald House staff, he had the greatest birthday of all time, and something that he's gonna remember for the rest of his life. So I gotta figure out a way to top that. You know, the wrestling, I thought I gave it my best shot, but I think if you asked him, I think he would still say the hospital birthday was number one.
Oh, that's great. And that's great thank you for sharing that story, by the way.
Absolutely.
That's, gosh, you know, I can't think of a parent out there that's listening to a program like this that just doesn't feel feel your pain and also feel the goodness, because nobody ever wants that to happen. Nobody ever wants to find a child that's suffering from something and you don't know what it is. But to have Ronald McDonald House available to you, and you stayed at the hospital? In the room at the hospital?
We stayed at the hospital, and we're able to utilize the house and have a a hot meal every single night. You know, have a place to do our laundry, take a shower, rest. But you know, another big thing that I think sometimes people don't think about is when you're going through that. You know, we had the supportive family and we had the supportive friends and even the staff that we talked to. But for us to have just this natural community of other families who are sitting at those dining tables every single night, who aren't going through exactly the same circumstances that you are, but they're there in the hospital hoping that their child is going to be okay. And you know, you develop friendships with one another, you celebrate each other's victories, you grieve with one another, you know, on a difficult day.
Sure.
So for us, you know, for me to be able to sit down and just kind of talk about, I've shared before, I kind of was put in the position of being, as much as I could be, kind of being the rock, because my wife was understandably, you know, having a very difficult time with everything happening. So for me to be able to talk to another dad and another mom and kind of share my feelings that I was kind of, you know, keeping to myself, you know, for that reason, it was freeing. It was therapeutic for me. And that's just something that happens naturally for our families that stay here at the houses.
Bonnie, you went into the pandemic like everybody else did, except in your case, obviously, you're providing space for people to stay, which is a whole different thing when you've got people being asked to stay in their homes and not leave, go to work or you know, travel anywhere. Then you have staff. How many staff do you have at this point?
We have just under 25.
Okay, so you had 25 people that you didn't know if they were going to be able to work every day. You didn't know if they were going to get sick themselves. You didn't know if you were going to get sick. How did we come through the pandemic? How did the houses come through the pandemic?
I think a lot of determination. We were extremely cautious with masking and really taking recommendations from our global organization. And do we have every single room full, or do we have the house half full? We provide room service for meals instead of communal meals, pretty much close our common areas. Our volunteers could not come in anymore, and our family dinner groups couldn't come in anymore. And there is so much love and support from our volunteers and family dinner groups. It was really daunting for our staff to imagine trying to replace those people. It wasn't, yes, it was difficult to replace what they did, but to replace them as individuals and the caring that they naturally provided all day long with our families. That was kind of the task that we had at hand. And our staff did an amazing job. They really did. We are still masking at the houses. We really hope that we can stop doing that soon. We just want to keep being very cautious. This winter, there's been, as you know, a lot of other respiratory diseases that have been pretty prominent. So that's been another great reason to keep masking. But we have slowly brought back our volunteers, and our family dinner groups are back. We were requiring vaccines for volunteers and dinner groups, and now we're comfortable not making that requirement. We're very excited to see some of our volunteers that volunteered with us in 2019, and now they're back. And so that's been so great. And it's like, you don't realize just how difficult things were. I think we've all kind of white knuckled our way through, and then we're so busy that we just kind of keep going through the whole thing. But then you walk out in the kitchen and see a group preparing dinner. And this morning we had a group preparing breakfast. And the fact that you feel like you're going to burst into tears and you need to leave really quick kind of tells the story that just how special those groups are to us. And seeing our volunteers, it's been really emotional just to see it all come back. And I think one of my favorite things about the whole experience was such kudos to our staff and what they gave, because the families were just as thankful, maybe even more thankful, because they knew what it took for us to have them in the houses during COVID. And so we felt like we weren't giving as much as we normally do without the volunteers and dinner groups, etc. But their expressions of thanks to us, and just through our evaluation program that we have for families to confidentially share their experience, was amazing. So I would say it's been a great success, but we sure are determined to bring back what we had in 2019. We know it'll never be the same, but hopefully it will be better.
You're hearing Bonnie Keller and also Ezra Wood with Ronald McDonald Houses here in Southwest Missouri in Springfield. In a couple of minutes we have left, Ezra, let's let you circle back and let's talk about the next big fundraiser once Share Heart is over with. What's coming up next?
So we have an ongoing campaign called Heart the Houses, where anyone can go onto our website, and we offer the ability for someone to essentially sponsor a room in the house. And you can do that for 1 month. You can do it for a quarter. You can do it for an entire year. But in doing that, you're essentially you're underwriting the costs of maintaining that space in the house. And so we've got that, we have availability to do that. You'll have to go online to see which rooms still have availability, because that's something that a lot of people like to do on an annual basis. And they have a particular room in the house that they like to be responsible for. So I would say really the big thing right now through February 28th is going to be Share a Heart. So if you haven't already, make sure that you go through your local McDonald's drive-through, pick up some good food and share a heart and enter for a chance to win a gift card. Who doesn't want to win some money? So there's 4 $250 gift cards provided by Great Southern Bank, and we're doing drawings on those with people who post on social media showing their support. And then we've got things all year long. So I would just, make sure that you're looking at our social media and our website to see when we have different events that come up throughout the year, and see if there's some way that you can get involved. The last thing I'd recommend, if you're looking for something fun to do with your family, if you want to teach your kids about giving back and helping those in need, every single night, we have dinner at both houses provided for as many families as we have in the house. And so it takes a lot of different groups to maintain a calendar of family dinner groups for the entire year. And so I'd recommend looking on our website, giving us a call, and signing up for a date to come in and provide a meal to our families in need.
We're about out of time. I want to thank my guests, Bonnie and Ezra. Both of you, you're doing a great job. Ronald McDonald House Charities here in Springfield. It's incredible what you do. And it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time. And Bonnie, I hope sometime soon you'll have a chance to spend a little more time with that new grandchild. I also want to thank my producer, Taylor Worley and Jay Stevens, as well as all of you for joining us. If you happen to miss all or part of today's program, you can always find it in its entirety on MidwestFamilySpringfield.com. Also, we have an ATO app now, so go to your favorite app store, whether you're an Apple or an Android user, and you can find the Around the Ozarks app. And we have a website. finally have a website, aroundtheozarks.com. And you can find not only today's program, but all of our programs over the last year and a half. I'm Scott Meier, your host. And remember, every day is a gift. Enjoy life. Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, Ezra. Have a great day.
Thank you.
you.